Charts Today comes to you from the Isle of Wight. I've got a house down here. I spend a lot of time here in the summer. I'm out for my morning walk. I walked my 27-mile charity walk from my local hospice on Sunday, 42 kilometres. So I'm happy to say I'm back out walking. Grateful to everyone who sponsored me. I've come in at the top fundraiser for the event out of 7,000 people. Do feel like I've cheated a little bit because I did contribute, match my donations 1-for-1, but still it's a great charity and I'm very grateful to anyone who sponsored me. And if you still want to sponsor me, there's a link below this video. Now we'll look at the charts. So I'm back at my desk after my walk, and we just are looking at quite a bit of red on the screen, and we're seeing here the dollar index. Remembering this is my weekly, my daily, and my 60-minute chart, my long-term, medium-term, and short-term view of the market with the corresponding point and figure targets. And this data is coming from Refinitiv Icon, but with Updata you can run on over 30 different data sources. It's just the one I'm using, and in fact I have got multiple data sources coming into my system simultaneously. So looking at the dollar index, we're seeing here this 100 level is holding up. We're just back to 102. We're short-term bullish above the cloud. So looking at a little bit of a resurgence there in the dollar, but these longer-term targets are being activated to the downside. That means that the euro is slightly weaker against that renewed dollar strength. Got down to 108.50. We are still below the cloud there. We do have a couple of downside targets hanging over us and hitting some resistance there. There's a lot to see when you look at these 6 charts. It's really a very quick view of what's going on. Sterling has been pretty strong lately. Interest rate expectations have increased. We're seeing 12-month highs in sterling against the US dollar and looking stronger there. Quite a lot of upside targets. A little mini downside one not yet activated, and we found support, so that's looking pretty good. And against the euro, we're just holding on to 115, so we are just looking stronger there again. Multi-month highs, certainly highs for this year that we're seeing there on the medium-term chart and the daily. So looking stronger there, holding on to the trend. We've still got work to do on the longer-term chart to turn bullish. Looking at the Bitcoin, where it's sitting at 27,000, so back below 30,000. That's looking like quite a strong resistance area now, 30,000. Psychologically important as well. We've got targets in either direction, one to 24,000 and another one to 54,000. So we are just seeing this tussle going on. The key thing is watching the shorter term targets. And of course, you're trading crypto, you want to be looking at the 1-minute targets with the 1-minute charts. Now, the NASDAQ looking pretty strong. We're continuing to see good performances from the tech majors, upside targets there, but not so much the case with the S&P. The S&P 500 index, of which now the top handful of tech stocks are a very, very big percentage of that S&P 500 index. So the breadth is as bad as it's ever been in terms of the smaller caps are all not performing, and the big ones like Apple and Microsoft, Nvidia, Google, Meta, Tesla, they're all doing pretty well. So we're seeing that the rest of the market is dragging the S&P or holding it back, and we need to get through that 4,200 high that we saw last year. 42 really is the level. In fact, we saw that in February. We've got to really break this level to be convincing, and we're not above the cloud. And interestingly, the cloud is at that same level. So we've got to get through 4,200 to be confident about the US market. The futures today, not much action there on the NASDAQ or the S&P mini. So market set to open flat. The FTSE future is correspondingly flat, just up 0.06%. And the DAX in Germany, the cash market up 0.05, the CAC down 0.09. So really the markets are listless at the moment. Looking at Japan looking the strongest market at the moment, really running away there, having broken out, got amazing upside targets, lots of them as well, which really lends to the credibility of the targets. So Japan is certainly the strongest looking index right now, and that's really very interesting, seeing all that upside potential there. Taking a look at the Hang Seng, not much change there. China was down 0.6%. So again, just struggling in the short term. We're below the cloud there, and having really not moved much in the last few months. The Sensex in India down 0.2%, but still above the cloud on the long-term chart. Not many markets are performing as well as the Asian markets. We're seeing here again bullish on all 3 time frames really. So, and again, great upside targets. So you can't really ignore those for sure. Looking at the Aussie market, we were down 0.5% here overnight, and we are just seeing here. We are struggling, having made that high in February, just struggling, and it's really a succession of lower highs that is a bit of a worry there for the Aussie. We'll look at the energy mix in a minute. Looking at some of the soft commodities, we've got wheat down 0.2%. That's looking bearish on the medium and long-term charts below the cloud. Even though we have reactive targets off the bottom, we are in downtrends there. And if we look at corn, we're down 0.5% here as well. So that's quite good news for inflation, just seeing some of these soft commodities falling away. Now, the big one is gold. We're back to nudging this 2,000 level. We touched 2,000 on Friday. We see here on the 12th we touched 2,000. We were quite close to it this morning at around 2003, 2004. I put out a survey on LinkedIn as to when gold will break to new all-time highs above 2072.50. That's the level. We tested that twice back in 2020 and again in 2022, and we got close to testing it recently. That's the level. When will it happen? And in the survey I said by the end of June, by the end of September this year or next year. And we're seeing quite interesting results coming in. There'll be over 1,000 results in the poll. So go on my LinkedIn page and make sure you vote. So it'll be quite interesting. Silver is well and truly back below that 24 level. It was above 25, remember. So it's really falling back there, just struggling. But these cloud transitions on the long-term charts do take time, and we have to get used to that. Looking at the bond yields in the US, 10-year bond yields, still holding long-term bullish. 325 is a really key level. We've got downside targets and upside targets. Just shows the uncertainty in the markets. Will we go higher in bond yields or will we go lower? And it's really interesting to see that. Medium term we're bearish, long term we're bullish. Those trends are fighting each other, something you've got to watch. Looking at tech stocks now, Apple's still looking pretty good, just marching forward. Of course, it's the biggest company in the US now, really driving the market, and all eyes on Apple. This is really the stock that you need to watch. And of course, other stocks like Amazon, number 2, again, looking pretty strong there as well. Good news for them overnight with the EU approving the Activision deal. Now, looking at Brent crude, we're sitting here below the cloud on the daily and below the cloud on the 60-minute. That means bearish, bearish, bearish medium term, bearish short term. We've got downside targets, quite a lot of them, and again on the medium term. So this is the daily, the 60-minute, the 1 minute. This is today, this is this week, and this is this month, if you like. That's the way to look at it. And we've got downside targets, so it is looking bad, and we are still bearish below the cloud. 70 was the key level we found last time. A fall through there would mean we lurch lower still. Looking at WTI, the level here is about 65. We touched there twice. We're bearish, bearish here as well, and we've got downside targets. If you're trading crude oil, you need to be watching these 1 minute targets. They're really, really critical. US NatGas, we're more bullish this morning. We had upside targets, but since then we've had some new downside targets kicking in. This is how the picture can change in real time. So we've got medium-term upside potential. The short-term target of 236 was met. That was given at 229, but now we've got downside targets, so we can't ignore those either. Gas prices actually looking a little bit stronger on MVP this morning, but still looking really dire on the charts there. And downside targets there on the daily, quite a bit lower still. And the same for TTF. If we look at TTF here, we are seeing here also just hitting the new lows there too, with the downside levels is key. But the really big one has been German power. We're seeing here on German power, we broke that 140, that's out of the 140, 150 trading range, pushing lower. We've got downside targets all over the place. So remembering this is the medium term, the short term, and the very short term. If you're trading German power intraday, you want to be using the 1 minute data. You can do that on EX or Trayport. You just need to be watching that. And last of all, a quick look at emissions. Here it's a bit of a mixed picture. This 85 level, pretty critical. We've got some new upside targets. We were neutral today, given the mixture of the picture there. That's it for today. Again, thank you for everyone who supported me in my charity walk. I'm very, very grateful. Until next time, happy charting. See you then.